Good morning, everyone. I pray that your Friday, you found spaces and places of joy, of peace. I pray that you knew that yesterday was Friday because for a great deal of the time, I thought it was Saturday. The days are starting to run together, but that's okay. Whatever day you thought it was, I pray that there was something that happened during that day, or maybe many somethings that made it feel good to be alive, that made it feel good just to be in the land of the living, that made you smile, that gave you hope and gave you the courage to press on just one more day. So we're continuing and actually finishing our conversation about narcissists. And I've been doing, this is the third part of instructions or some ideas of how you can take care of yourself if you're choosing to be in a relationship or choosing to stay in a relationship with someone who has narcissistic tendencies. And I always emphasize that because, again, you know, the first thought people may say is, why would you want to stay? Well, I think that we love who we love, and we may love various things about people. Persons with narcissistic tendencies tend to be quite charming at times, and that may be what we fell in love with. We may have fallen in love with the potential of who we know this person could be if they just changed or move through some of their more challenging behaviors. But guess what? The only person we can really change is ourselves. So you'll notice when I've given you these tips, it's about what you can do for you to help you to find peace as you continue to be in relationship. Some of you may have no choice. It may be someone who you work with, and yes, you can change jobs, or it may be a parent, it may be one of your children, whatever the relationship is, these are tips to help you. I'm gonna put on my glasses so we can quickly review the first 4 tips that I've given thus far, and I will add in the last 2. The first is learn what is and what isn't negotiable. Quick and dirty, what is your bottom line? Be able to recognize what behaviors will you definitely not tolerate that are totally unacceptable, and what are some things that you can overlook, and what are some things that you can begin to compromise with. Number 2, know when you're being gaslighted. Remember, gaslighted is when narcissists or people with narcissistic tendencies, they may say something and later deny that they said it, and it causes you to doubt if you have good sense. It causes you to doubt if you were dreaming. It causes you to wonder, well, is he or she crazy? Do they think I'm crazy? That's called gaslighting. And then, so recognize when you're being gaslit. When you know that you said X, Y, and Z, when you know that this had been an experience and they're trying to make you believe that it didn't happen or they did not say it, know that that's what they're doing. Number 3, don't tolerate denigrating emotional outbursts. You know, don't tolerate people calling you out of your name. Don't tolerate them disrespecting you. Don't tolerate them saying cruel or mean things to you, or the sarcasm that tends to hurt and it's not funny. Don't tolerate that. If when it happens, and it will happen, make sure that you express your disappointment in how you're being treated. Ask for an apology. You may or may not get it, but these are things you can do that you have control over. And if necessary, walk away and let them know that when they're ready to be able to talk with you in a manner that's respectful, you're more than willing to come back to the conversation. Now, I want to put in a small caveat. If you're being physically harmed or you are putting any danger, immediately get out of that situation and seek help. And number 4 was learn negotiating skills. Just because the person in your life who has narcissistic tendencies believes that everything should go his or her way, that doesn't mean that that's true. You have power. And just because they may talk louder than you or use more force than you or may sound more intelligent or string together more words, it's still negotiable. I remember my experience with a narcissist in my life or someone with narcissistic tendencies, that what they would do is when we would start to have a discussion that would maybe go into an argument, by the time that person has so skillfully used words and went here and there and everywhere, I completely lost track of the conversation. So a lot of times I would just give in because I was exhausted. I could not keep up with all the twists and turns and things that that person was doing. But recognize that everything is negotiable and learn negotiating skills. It'll help you in many areas of your life and not just with the narcissist. And so the last two, that I want to add in, that one is bolster your own self-esteem. My notes say, don't be surprised if your self-esteem tanks because your narcissist is bent on satisfying his or her needs and not yours. If you're with someone or in relationship with someone and it's only focused on their needs, eventually you are probably going to feel or wonder like you don't matter. Your self-esteem begins to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and you begin to lose yourself. They become bigger than life, and you begin to lose this true essence, this true sense of who you are. When this happens, it's because they're manipulating you. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that your self-esteem is being attacked. So what it does mean is that you're not getting enough positive reinforcement. We all need positive reinforcement. Every now and then, every one of us needs to be able to hear, you did a good job. You're a good person. I like what you're doing. Narcissists tend not to do that because it takes the focus off of themselves. And so if you don't get any positive reinforcement, eventually your self-esteem will take a hit. So what you can do is say kind things to yourself, encourage yourself, reinforce yourself. Spend more time with others who think highly of you. There are other people in your life who you may not be giving that much attention, who think you really are all that in a bag of chips. They recognize your gifts. They recognize your skills. Sometimes we're not able to hear it because we're so stuck in the loop of the pattern of the person in our lives, making us feel like we don't matter, that we're not hearing the voices that are saying, hey, you did that really well, or you look really good, or I really appreciate when. So surround yourself, spend more time with people who are uplifting, that it's mutual, that it's not so self-centered and focused on themselves. Get involved with group activities that bolster your ego. Some of you are good dancers. Some of you play tennis. Some of you have all types of skills that when you do it, it makes you feel like you've come alive. It makes you feel good about yourself. Do those things, even if the person with narcissistic tendencies in your life doesn't want to do it. Find other people to do it with. The bottom line is it's not a great idea to allow that person with narcissistic tendencies to take up all of your time, because trust me, they will suck the life out of you. And the last one, which I think is most important, it says stop keeping secrets. Don't isolate yourself. It may be hard to be honest with others about how the person in your life who has narcissistic tendencies, about how they behave. And this may be difficult because you may feel embarrassed, especially if you've been covering up for that person. And particularly with social media. On social media, we see so many people who are in relationships, who have a boo, and they talk about how wonderful the relationship is, and here's all the grand things they're doing, and look what he or she got me, and I love them to death. And when you look at your relationship and you realize, I'm not getting any of this. This actually makes me feel worse. You may feel embarrassed because maybe you have been embellishing on social media. Maybe you have been making your relationship seem a whole lot better than it was, what it actually is, because that's what you wish it could be. So the bottom line is, stop keeping secrets. I'm not telling you to get on social media and then blast out the person in your life who has narcissistic tendencies. I'm not saying that at all. That is very immature. It's also irresponsible. But you may want to be able to identify a trustworthy friend or family member and who you can begin to talk about and be real with them about how you're experiencing your relationship, how it's affecting you. You're not necessarily asking them for advice, but you are using them as a sounding board so they can be able to listen and help you to determine, am I being gaslighted? Has my self-esteem taken a hit? That's how people can be helpful for you. And most importantly, do not hesitate to reach out for the help of a professional who can assist you in strengthening your coping skills and building up your resolve. Counseling, a lot of times people say, I ain't telling nobody about my life, they don't know me. But counselors are trained to be able to hold you in a space that is safe and that's secure, that can help you to grow so that you can come to a point where you're strong enough to make good decisions for yourself. I'm going to end by saying, and I'm going to read this, living with a person with narcissistic tendencies is not easy, okay? It's not easy, except that you cannot create a major makeover of another person's personality. The only person you can change is yourself, nor should you want to. You shouldn't want to change the person. If it's that bad, where the only way you can tolerate this relationship is if you can fix them, then you may want to consider, is this the relationship for you? But if your underlying foundational goal is you want to stay together, I implore you to do your best to put these tips we've talked about in the last 3 days into practice. And if you're able to do that, slowly but surely, it won't be long before you notice how much better you will feel. Now, the person in your life, they're probably going to be like, they may turn up the heat. It may get worse before it gets better. But the bottom line is, you're becoming stronger. You're becoming emotionally more intact. You're focused more on identifying what you need and what you have control over. And I invite you to do all these things on purpose. Now, I can truly say in all confidence, tomorrow is Sunday, and I do not do videos on Sunday. And so I invite you on Sunday to be encouraged. Do something that satisfies your soul. Maybe listen to a good message, go out in nature, maybe have a great family meal that maybe you all cook together, but do something that makes you feel alive. And I will talk with you again on Monday. Bye-bye.